know what they haven't met about you? They haven't met your heart. They haven't met your spirit. They haven't met your soul. Oh yeah, he got knocked down. But what did he do? He got back up because his why was greater. His purpose was greater. It's this group. It's we. It's LEO. It's everything we believe in.
Burrow's got time. Launching for the end zone. Jump ball. Touchdown. Terrence Marshall. LSU sits on the throne of college football.
If you love college football, this weekend feels special. It's Countdown to College Game Day presented by Coke Zero, leading you into game day at 9 a.m., and that is the beautiful sight of Miami, the site of tonight's game between Miami and Florida State. Oh, it feels so good, not just because we're looking at beautiful Miami, but also because we're talking about a weekend where the world of college football expands with the welcome edition of the SEC. Christine Williams, I'm Jason Fitz. I am so excited. It is just, look, I've loved every weekend, and I've told you this a few times off air, Christine, but like this year, in 2020, when you have football, you have to appreciate it. You can get so worried about what's going to happen next and what it means for the future. Like, in this moment, I'm looking at it and saying, not only do we have college football, but the number of teams, doesn't matter what your favorite conference is, the number of teams is growing. That feels huge to me.
Exactly. It's growing. And I'm just excited because I feel like I said this last week, I'm a University of Miami alum. And I will say this is the second week in a row and the first time this has ever happened where Miami football has been talked about. So I'm very excited about that, too.
And this is going to be like a year-long thing for her because you worked for the Big 12 Network. You went to Miami. Like, any other ties you want to throw out there?
Clemson. I went to Clemson, too.
Good Lord, I can't handle this.
All day.
All right, Christine's going to be with us for the show, and as we always hang out throughout the course of the week, but we're going to bring in some friends to join us off the top. To do that, we're going to get a little expertise coming in, and that comes in the former coach Jim Mora and the Bear, Chris Fallica. Fallica, this is your debut on Countdown to Game Day, right? Like last year, I don't think you got to hang out with us, so this is like the first, right, where we get to do this together?
It is, and I feel great. I'm here at Miami, where I went to school, with another Miami alumnus. You're trying to ease me in as comfortably as possible. I love it.
Oh, man. Okay, well, this Miami stuff, we're going to figure out. All right, Christine will hang out with us again in a second. In the meantime, guys, let's start breaking down some of the big news. Before we get to the games, let's start about the biggest news that everybody's talking about right now in college football, and that was the Pac-12 announcement that they are going to play. Obviously, we now know that the Pac-12 is going to give us a condensed schedule. It's going to start November 6th. Jim Mora, if I'm talking to a coach that's been in the Pac-12, we got to start with you. As a coach, you've been around this so much, you know the conference. What's your reaction to sort of what this means for the Pac-12, not just today, but moving forward, that they're actually going to be able to play this year?
Well, I'm happy they were able to reach this decision, come to this moment. I think they had some hurdles that they had to get over that maybe other conferences didn't have to get over. You're talking in particular about the state of Oregon and the state of California having some state and local restrictions that were in place that didn't allow them to participate at the level that they'd have liked to. I always am worried that the Pac-12 is becoming a little bit irrelevant on the national stage because of the lack of appearances in the college football playoff, but this puts them right back in the picture. It's an unusual year. We'll see how it shakes out at the end, how many games they'll actually end up playing, really how many games anyone will end up playing, but I think they did it the right way. I think they moved with caution. I think they moved within the guidelines set by the states, and I think that they moved with the thought that the student athlete and their health and safety and the health and safety of their families was paramount, and we're going to get to see some good football. I'm excited to see USC play. I'm excited to see Oregon play. And I'm really excited to see Arizona State play. So I think we'll see some good football out in the Pac-12. How competitive it'll be, It's just not as competitive as it is down south, but we've got good football out here.
All right, Fallica, you're a numbers guy, so I'm going to throw out a number, too, that I think is significant. $66 million. That's the number of dollars at stake if this conference can be included in the college football playoff. So I'm going to ask you two questions. First, should the Pac-12 be included in the playoff? And second, even if they get there, get included, can somebody make some noise?
Well, should they be up for consideration to be included in the playoff? Sure, absolutely. But I think the thing is that you look at the number of games this conference is going to play. What's it going to be, 7 tops? How is that going to compare with someone in the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC? As Coach said, we really don't know how many games anybody is going to play this year. But if you're looking at a cap of 7 for the Pac-12, and remember, too, the only team in the Pac-12 that really was thought to be a college football playoff contender was Oregon. And you look at Oregon, they're going to be a very deep, senior-laden, mature team this year. You lose both of your starting cornerbacks. You lose Penei Sewell, who's probably going to be one of the top 5 picks in the draft. I just don't know if anybody in the Pac-12 is going to be able to make a run to the college football playoff. So should they be up for the playoff and be considered? Sure, but I just don't think one of their teams is going to be able to make a deep enough run in the season to be able to be in the playoff.
Now, granted, guys, I could spend the next hour talking to you guys about the Pac-12, but they don't get going yet. So let's start talking about one conference that gets going this weekend. That's the SEC. Particularly, guys, it's tough to figure out the SEC East. If you look at some of the preseason voting, voters seem to be split on who the favorite is between Florida and Georgia. So, Fallica, we'll start with you, the Bear. What you got? What's your outlook on the East?
I still think Georgia is the team to beat. I think a lot of people are overreacting to the quarterback situation. This is just from where I sit, and I know nothing about what went on behind the scenes, but if you're Jamie Newman and you transfer from Wake Forest to Georgia and you think you're the starting quarterback, and then suddenly with JT Daniels not cleared to play and DeJuan Mathis having not played yet, all of a sudden you up and leave, that tells me that Newman probably had a sense that he was either going to get passed or just lose the starting quarterback job outright and really hurt his NFL prospects. So I think Georgia's going to be okay at the quarterback position. I think they've got game-breaking running backs. I think Pickens obviously showed what he can do at the wide receiver position. The young tight end, Darnell Washington, I think is going to be a game breaker, and they're probably going to have, if not the best defense in the country, one of the top 2 or 3. So I still think Georgia, talent-wise, in terms of depth over Florida, is the team to beat in the SEC East.
Coach, you agree with that?
I agree 100%. I think this DeJuan Mathis can be, a special player. We haven't seen him play yet, but, everything's not going to fall right on his shoulders immediately because they can run the ball and they can play really good defense. And that is a recipe that you need in order to break in a young quarterback who's talented yet inexperienced. So you just look at Georgia, their entire roster, their coaching staff, and this is not to say anything about Dan Mullen and his coaching staff, the continuity that they have there, and then this young, exciting young quarterback. I'm with the Bear. I'm picking Georgia.
Well, one thing I know is we're on Twitter. Y'all's mentions are going to be just fired up by Florida fans that feel like they're not getting enough respect.
What else do I hear about it all the time being a Miami guy?
That is fair. All right, let's take a look at the other side of the conference. Let's move over to the West. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but there's been so much hype for Ohio State and Clemson. It feels like we've just been so focused on them. Coach, is there a shot that Bama, which has a lot of returning talent, is actually flying under the radar coming into this year?
Well, that's hard to say, isn't it, that Alabama's under the radar? To me, they're never under the radar, and that's because I have so much respect for Nick and that program and the way they're able to reload. They've got a couple quarterbacks in the pipeline. I don't know that they're going to beat Tua immediately. I think they're going to be better on defense. And, you're not going to find me ever betting against Nick Saban in Alabama. So, if you were to pin me down and say who's going to win that side of the conference, I'm going to say Alabama. It's hard for me to come off of that.
Fallica, can Alabama win the national championship this year in your mind?
I think they can. I think it's going to be hard for them to beat. So you look at the playoff and what potentially it could bring. You're going to have to beat Ohio State, and you're going to have to beat Clemson. I don't know if they're good enough to be able to do that. I shouldn't maybe phrase it that way. They're certainly not proven right now that they're good enough to do that, especially with the issues they had on defense last year. Now, sure, they'll be better, they'll be older, but I think so much depended on Tua last year offensively. Can Mac Jones have that same relationship with the wide receivers that they have and be as effective on offense? I think this is going to be a type of year where they're going to need Jalen Waddle to provide some offense through special teams, field position, things like that. That might be a blessing in a sense that this might be more of a Nick Saban traditional type team where we're going to run Najee and our other backs and use special teams and field position to win games instead of trying to beat LSU 56-45 like they had to last year.
Well, and you just mentioned LSU, which opens the door perfectly to what Coach O had to say. Remember, they've changed quarterbacks, obviously, so this is a little bit of what Coach had to say about his new quarterback.
I've always believed in Miles Brennan. I think he's an excellent young man. He waited his turn, a lot of respect. Has a strong arm, probably a stronger arm than Joe Burrow had. Can extend plays with his feet, not quite like Joe did. Is learning the offense. I think the spring kind of hurt for him not being with us, for us not practicing with his receivers. But I think he did a good job of catching up during COVID and catching up in the summertime. He was very accurate with the football in all three scrimmages. The only thing that we don't know, and I do believe that he's going to do very well, is how he's going to do in the fire. And the only way to know that is put him in the fire. I trust Miles. He's become a team leader. Short passing game is his strength. The deep ball is something that he is very good at, but I think that takes time for him and his receivers to get the timing down, and hopefully we can improve on that throughout the year.
Now, it should be noted, gentlemen, that he is the only quarterback on that roster that's even thrown a pass in college. So, Coach Mora, give me like an honest moment here. You're a coach, you're looking around, you're LSU, you're coming off a championship, you have 5 returning starters. Where's the spot where you just close the binder, throw it in the air, and say, holy hell?
Look, you never do that. They've got a plan. Coach O is awesome. I listened to that clip, and he provokes confidence. He's dead honest, all right? He's authentic as can be. And he can be a little bit, not critical, but honest about his quarterback, but he still leaves you with a positive taste in your mouth. And I love that about him. I think that permeates his team. I think LSU is going to be fun to watch. They're not going to be the LSU of last year. They're not going to sling it all over the place and have all these exciting plays, but they're going to play winning football. They're going to play solid defense. They're going to control the ball. They've got a good offensive coordinator, good offensive staff, and they've got a head coach that their players believe in, and that's a big deal.
Well, and Fallica, let's be real. If I rewound the tape to a year ago, not many of us knew that Joe Burrow was going to be Joe Burrow. So when you look at LSU, what are your expectations?
I expect them to have a ton of talent on the field. I think the biggest question mark is the offensive coordinator spot. Sure, and Steve Ensminger is still there, but Joe Brady took them to the next level in 2019 from where Joe Burrow was in 2018. So what's going to happen? What's that in-game dynamic is, and the Brady effect? That's the biggest question I have, and I'm going to be interested to see what happens late after the Mississippi State game. I would expect this to be a high-scoring game. I think Mike Leach and KJ Costello are going to keep throwing. So I think this might be one of those overreactions after one game. Oh, see, Dave Aranda's gone. All those great LSU defensive players are gone. Oh, they allowed 34 points when Mississippi State threw the ball 90 times. Remember last year, the Ole Miss game, everybody, well, LSU's defense stinks. They allowed all these points and yards to Ole Miss. They can't win the national title. That kind of fueled their defense to play a lot better. So I'm curious to see if we have a week one overreaction after Mississippi State predictably will be throwing the ball all game long.
You mean overreactions in college football? Who knew? Okay, so give me... No, yeah, it's not possible. All right, let's get a quick thought from each of you. What team, Fallica, we'll start with you. Which team in the West do you think is the biggest threat to Alabama?
My initial thought would be A&M. Only because I think with Mon back at quarterback, I think he does a whole bunch of dynamic things. They seem to be trending upward in Jimbo Fisher, but I'm a little concerned about the opt-outs and how that's going to maybe go over in the locker room. We saw some quotes about now is when we're going to find out about players who want to play ball and who don't. So I'm a little concerned about that, but maybe it will be a little bit of a bonding thing and bring this team together, and they will prove to be the team that a lot of people think that they can be. So if I had to pick somebody to beat to win the West, and it's not Alabama, I would probably go with A&M this year.
Coach, I've given you all this extra time to come up with your answer, but opinion the same way. Who you got?
A&M. I agree, and I like the fact that they've got a returning quarterback that's a veteran that can make plays, make things happen. I've played down at A&M. It's a tough place to play. Of course, Alabama's played there, and they've had success. So I agree with what the Bears are saying completely. And you know, the one thing that's always fun about the SEC is the level of competitiveness week in and week out is so overwhelmingly fun to watch. I mean, it's real football. It's good football. And I never know exactly what to expect. I never know who's going to emerge as a great player, as a great team, and that's what keeps me so interested. It's real ball. Man, that's real ball in the SEC.
I love all of this. And by the way, you made Florida fans mad earlier. Now you've made Auburn fans mad. So congratulations.
Well, listen, I like Auburn. I like Bo Nix. I like what they're – listen, I'll say this. I don't want to make Florida fans mad because I think they're tremendous. Auburn fans, I think the SEC is tremendous. That's what makes it so fun.
As always, gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with us. Fallica, stay safe out there. I know you miss giant hugs from me all the time, but stay safe out there. Most importantly, Coach, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
All right, so obviously, Christine, last year I got to travel with GameDay.
Yeah.
It was a tremendous highlight for me in my life, and got to meet the guys and hang out with the guys and really work with them. Now we're being very careful, but that means that last year I got to do things like go to the creamery at Penn State. I got to eat delightful food on campuses all across the country. And it was one of my favorite things to do every week.
I was going to say that might be a good thing that you're not on the road now then, because that's pounds that you're most likely putting on if you're eating ice cream and, weird food all the time.
You saying I got plumpy last year?
I'm just saying that you can...
I did spend all year trying to take off weight and then...
Stuff your face a little less.
Well, we're still going to stuff our faces. We just found a new way to do it, and we're going to do it with Fitz's Food Tour, brought to you by Coke Zero. We're going to do it kind of local.
Okay.
All right. All right, last season we got to hang out at every campus and go to cool places and have all sorts of food. We can't do that this year, but we can still go to an amazing place, the house of Gary Streisky.
Welcome to West Hartford. It's basically just being like on any college campus except any of the cool stuff.
I'm used to being fed on Saturday, so feed me.
Hey guys, let's make something easy. Fitzy, C-Dub, there is nothing easier than just melting stuff. You don't even have to watch it. So, welcome to the kimchi queso process. Right here, we have a pound of pepper jack Gouda. People say it's Gouda. I think it's Greta. We have 2 pounds of my favorite meltable cheese product. This is key. It's kind of hot right now and it's doing exactly what the instruction says it's gonna do, melting. So we gotta get it in the grill. But first we have to go through the other products, okay? Make sure you have 2 cans. Don't matter what make, model, as long as it's tomato and green chili. And then trust me on this one, cream of mushroom, it just makes everything a little bit, well, everything a little creamier, hence it's in the name. Habanero, I like the spice. Can you smell that? We have a pound of hot breakfast sausage. Fitzy, you asked me why?
Yeah, why hot breakfast sausage?
Because, man, spice. It can't be kimchi queso without the key ingredient, which is the kimchi. Come to the grill / smoker. Basically, since everybody's hungry, I mean, it's gonna melt regardless. So just rip up the heat as high as possible. I have this at 440 degrees, give or take. You feel that? So, with the magic of TV editing, my 30-minute labor of love has turned from chunks of meltable cheese product into this ooey gooey goodness. But here's the thing, I know it's good. I know you two are the food critics, so don't take my word for it. Give the kimchi queso a try.
Okay.
I'm scared of the habanero part of this. I'm scared.
Yeah, the whole thing's scary.
But I'm going big.
I'm gonna scoop because there's sausage in here.
But wait, look at,
Don't
you
forget
see
about
the
sausage.
cheese just kind of stringing along?
Here we go. Ready for this?
I'm doing a lot.
Look at that, get this shot.
Oh my God.
Look at that shot.
Yeah, this is actually making me nervous. I don't want to
If you don't get it on your shirt, God, I've never been more impressed.
Guys, I know we're friends, but listen, you don't have to be friendly. Just
A,
shoot me
this
straight.
is amazing. B, it's all on fire. Like everything from here to here. But it's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
That kick at the end.
Yeah.
It's the habanero.
Is it? What does the kimchi do for this?
Huh?
The kimchi, what does
The
that
kimchi
do?
is just for culture. Strictly for the culture.
Because I don't taste the kimchi, but
You know what? When you come to Gary Streisky's house, you come from the cheese for the cheese. You stay for the culture. Oh my God, incredible.
so stinking good. Kimchi for the culture. Coming up on Game Day later on today at 9:30 a.m., Florida State head coach Mike Norvell will join the show. He's out for tonight's game against Miami after testing positive for COVID earlier this week at 10 a.m. Gene Wojciechowski will have a feature on Miles Brennan, the new LSU QB, who's been waiting for this opportunity. Then, at 10:50 a.m., Tom Rinaldi has a story on Alex Charlton, a graduate assistant for Midwestern State, who left his job to return to nursing to help fight COVID. After that, at 11 a.m., the always must-see and listen Wright Thompson will have an essay on the return of football weather in the SEC. And for a breakdown of the SEC and who has a shot at the championship, Brad Edwards has all the deets in this week's Numbers Crunch.
Let the celebration begin in Gainesville.
Alabama, 5th national championship in 9 years.
Auburn win! Tigers win. They are the national champions.
The SEC has been excellent for more than a decade, having won 10 of the last 14 national championships. But staying on top this year will be a challenge.
Edwards-Helaire, left side, got a hold. Touchdown, LSU.
Justin Jefferson. That's his 4th touchdown of the game.
After an all-time great season in 2019, LSU is bringing back just 28% of its rushing yards, 22% of its receiving yards, and just 3 of its top 13 tacklers. That places Alabama back in the familiar role of SEC favorite, according to FPI. But the Tide have their own issues to address.
He hands the ball to Whitlow. No, it's next around left end. Touchdown Auburn! Going to be grabbed by Chase at about the 3. He'll step into the end zone by his lonesome.
While the Bama offense has reached elite status the last couple of seasons, the defense has trended in the opposite direction. That's the inverse of Georgia, which has a championship caliber defense, but must get better on offense. And losing expected starting QB Jamie Newman didn't help.
Throws the ball into the end zone. Touchdown Gators!
Into coverage and picked off. Mukwamo down the near sideline.
For whoever wins the league in 2020, it won't be easy. With each team playing 10 conference games, the 13 most difficult schedules in college football this fall are all in the SEC. That means more losses in league play. But success is still measured by one win in the final game of the season.
We now welcome in Brad Edwards, and we want to run through a few games with you this weekend. The first game, number 23 Kentucky at number 8 Auburn. That's at noon on SEC Network. And Bo Nix is in his 2nd season at Auburn. They have 3 returning starting wideouts, but only 1 returning starting offensive lineman. So what do you think we can expect out of their offense this season?
That's what every Auburn fan wants to know, because that's going to determine whether they're a factor in the SEC. And of course, you know, the last 15 years, if you're a factor in the SEC, you're a factor in the national championship race as well. Now, before I get into Auburn, let's not forget what Kentucky has been for the last few years. It's very easy to overlook them, but Mark Stoops has just kept proving doubters wrong time after time. So don't eliminate the possibility of the upset here. But as you mentioned, Bo Nix is the key for Auburn. Yeah, they had a great defense last year. They lost some really good players, but I think that side of the ball should be okay. The question is, on offense, is he going to make a significant leap from his freshman year to his sophomore year? It was in the season opener last year that everyone became aware of who he was. He had the last-minute touchdown pass to beat Oregon, but it was just kind of up and down for the rest of that freshman season. After that, they need him to be much better, and I think that's going to require them to run the ball well, which with the 1 starting offensive lineman returning, Odds of that aren't great, but I think it's essential to Gus Malzahn's teams year after year. The better they run, the better they are offensively.
Yeah, Brad, you're so right. Consistency's key there. Speaking of consistency, let's get to the 4K Game of the Week preview brought to you by Samsung QLED. It comes from the ever-consistent number 2 Alabama at Missouri. That's 7 p.m. on ESPN. The Tide are a 27-point favorite in this game. Mac Jones is the starting quarterback for Week 1. But, Brad, how much do you believe in Mac Jones to be the starting quarterback throughout the duration of the season?
I think he's shown us enough for us to know what they're getting with him, and I think that means they're getting a pretty good quarterback. Look, he came on and started for the first time in Week 9 last year. From Week 9 through the end of the season, he had the second highest total QBR in college football behind only Joe Burrow. I mean, he was even higher than Trevor Lawrence. So he played really well, and especially against some good defenses at the end of the season, Auburn and Michigan. The question is his backup, who is a very hyped 5-star, Bryce Young out of California. Everyone can't wait to see him. But I think you're going to see both of them, not only in this game, but I think in most games that Alabama plays. Nick Saban, 3 years in a row, at some point has had to go to his backup quarterback in a key situation. And so he's going to have Bryce Young ready to play whether Mac Jones looks good or not. But based on what we saw end of last year, I would expect that he will look good.
That'll be certainly interesting to watch. Another thing on the other side of the ball, the linebacker position last season was a weakness for them. They had a lot of injuries. This season, they're a little bit healthier. How does the depth at that position, you think, affect them defensively?
Well, the big one is that Dylan Moses is back. He was preseason All-American last year, never made it onto the field because he was hurt right before the season began. His loss was immense a year ago. They had youth all over the place, both inside linebacker positions. They were starting true freshmen. So having him in there as the leader of that defense is a big step in the right direction. Now, they still have other holes that they have to worry about filling, or I should say areas in which they need to be better than they were last year. One of those is rushing the passer. And the guy who's going to be starting in what is considered their primary pass rushing position is a true freshman. They've got a position in the secondary that on that depth chart, number 1 and 2 are true freshmen. So they're still going to be young and inexperienced in a lot of positions defensively. All in all, if they stay healthy, they'll be better than they were last year. The question is, can they get back to where we're used to Alabama being, which is one of the best, 3 to 5 defenses in all of college football?
Don't forget that game is available in 4K on DirecTV, Optimum, and Xfinity. Let's get to one other one that's big on the weekend. I'm not even sure the Water Boys the same for LSU this weekend. So we keep talking about that, but there's the other side of it. Mississippi State gets Mike Leach. What do you expect from Mike Leach in this game?
What you always expect from Mike Leach, that they're going to throw the ball a bunch. I think it's going to be fun because KJ Costello, his starting quarterback, came in from Stanford. So you've got a head coach and a quarterback who both essentially transferred in from the Pac-12. Now, Costello was obviously playing in a much different offense out there, but he saw up close and personal for 3 seasons Mike Leach's offense when they were playing against Washington State, and he obviously felt like he was a good fit. Mike Leach felt like he was a good fit. That's why he brought him on. My biggest question with Mississippi State is, are they deep enough at receiver with all of the passing and all the guys they're going to have out in routes every play to be effective in that offense? We'll see. But I tell you what, this is not the type of offense I would want to face in Week 1 if I had lost as much on defense as LSU has.
Fitz mentioned it. They lost all but 5 starters this season, the defending national champions. And they also lost Joe Brady, which is a big deal for them. So what are you expecting to see from their play calling this afternoon?
Yeah, I think that's a big question with LSU because the strides they made last year offensively were certainly in part to how much talent that they had in that group. But I think another part of it was a change in philosophy that came with Joe Brady. They went from having a fullback on the field sometimes to just going 3 or 4 wide on every play. But the other thing was the aggressiveness in the play calling. They threw the ball on first down more frequently than any Power 5 team other than Washington State. Okay, so that tells you something about what they were doing and how different it was. It was aggressive, and it gave them a chance to maximize the talent they had at quarterback and receiver. Now with Scott Linehan coming in and taking the place of Joe Brady, will that continue? Here's an interesting tidbit for you. Scott Linehan, most recently offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys from 2015 through 2018, over that 4-year span, the Cowboys ranked dead last in the NFL in percentage of time they threw on first down. So we're going to find out, are they running Linehan's offense or are they running the offense that Ed Ogeron wants them to run that they had last year?
Brad, that's why we love having you on, my friend. Thank you so much for the time. Thanks for the insight.
You got it.
Oh, Christine, it's going to be a spectacular weekend.
I'm excited because it's almost like football is fully back. It's like this close. I mean, Big Ten, Pac-12 are still missing out, but, we're almost
For
there.
now.
Yeah.
It's basically there. Flip over to ESPN. Do it right now. That's the way that you can check out Game Day. Thanks for watching Countdown to Game Day, presented by Coke Zero. Christine, Jason, we'll hang out with you every week.
Go Canes.
She's got this bias.